Let's talk about America and the Democrats there. So literally, a socialist is now leading the national polls. Bernie Sanders is leading in Nevada by 1 point, is leading nationally by 4 points. But then there's this billionaire, the former Republican in Mike Bloomberg, who is waiting and getting ready to enter. So get ready for socialism versus capitalism here. This is the people who you want to take on Donald Trump. So I'll ask you this, Nicholas Rees. Are you willing to take a former Republican mayor who said it was okay to push minority groups up because they're the ones responsible for the crime because he's a better person than Donald Trump? Will you take this bloke's money?
Look, I want the guy who can beat Donald Trump, okay? I think that's probably Mike Bloomberg, not Bernie Sanders. Although I still hold a candle for Mayor Pete. I still hold a candle for Mayor Pete, but look, there's still a bit. I still think there's quite a bit of a way to go. That's quite funny. There's still quite a way to go in this race.
What do you think? What do you think about where the Dems are now? Look, obviously, I mean, there's only 2 states of 50 that have voted. But what do you think?
Yeah. Well, mate, so only 3% of votes have been counted, so tallied so far. So we're very, very early. But I think what you can say is this: that Elizabeth Warren's candidature is dead. You know, a long way to go, but the left are going to vote for Sanders, not her. Her numbers have continually dropped over the last month or so, and she's not I don't think she's a good campaigner. So I think she's finished, and she I think 4th or 5th in New Hampshire, and it wasn't a good result. Biden is not dead, but Nevada and South Carolina will determine his fate. If he doesn't poll really strongly there, i.e. in the 20s, I think he's going to be dead too. Oh. But I think the real conclusion, what we're seeing, mate, here is that I think it's quite likely that no one will have the 1,990 votes needed by the time they get to the convention, and that you're going to have a brokered convention. Now, the person that suits best is Bloomberg. Because they're going to sit around, all the heavies will sit around, and he'll say, well, I can put $200 million into the campaign, and poor old Mayor Pete will say, well, I'll run a raffle down in my $100,000 mayoralty and we'll raise $8.50. You would think at a brokered convention, Bloomberg will get the nomination, and he's a serious opponent for Trump. The best thing for the Donald would be if Bernie won, because he's just an American version of Jeremy Corbyn, and he cannot win an election. He cannot win a general election.
Have you eaten enough to? Can you talk while you're eating?
Yeah, I'm just swallowing that delicious mouthful. But I think one of the things that's interesting is that Biden was knocked off by the impeachment. That's for sure. And I'm sure that some of those Democrats who were voting for the impeachment knew that would be the case and were quite happy about it.
He's also crap at running for president. He was in the 80s when he was caught duplicating votes. In 2008, he got less than 1%. And I think everyone's kind of oversold his awesomeness because he's the old man with aviators. Come on.
Well, but I certainly do think that Bloomberg would be a much more serious challenge for Donald Trump than anybody that's in the field.
But I do want to show the Trump fans this. Can we have a look at this graph? The number of people who came out to vote for Donald Trump in New Hampshire and the margin with which he won was bigger than Ronald Reagan in 1984.
Yep.
Now have a look at the re-election turnout. Now obviously no one was going to stand in his way, but still 49,000 people were excited to just go and re-vote for this guy. The same, a little bit higher for Bush, and a whole lot higher for Clinton in 96, because of course he was in the middle of a couple of scandals, so they were excited to get out there. What does that number tell you, if anything, Nicholas? Now look, I think complacency can play a massive role, people saying, oh, the Democrats are pulling themselves apart. But for all the talk about record turnout, when 120,000 people are willing to turn out to vote for the sitting president, Republicans are very excited to go 4 more years for this bloke.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly apples and apples comparison there in that last graph, but I accept the point you're making, and that is that those Republican voters are fired up about Donald Trump. And it's been quite an extraordinary journey. Like, remember, Donald Trump was an outsider in the Republican Party 5 years ago. Now, as he gets to the end of his first term as president, he's basically taken over the grand old party, and they're turning out in record numbers to support him. It tells you he's got a fired up base out there.